Next up, we have so many movies to look forward to in 2019. I'm excited.
Me too.
Get your popcorn ready.
Yeah, so in our next segment, we are going to be discussing what movies to expect and look forward to this year with Rachel Simon. She's an entertainment news editor for Bustle, and Dion Baia, an author, podcaster, and actor.
And while our guests are setting up, I want to say one movie I'm looking forward to is Coming to America 2, the reboot with Eddie Murphy. Gosh, it's a classic. So it was made, I think, like 30 years ago.
I think it's about 30 years
I'm
ago,
not going to do my age, but I'm really looking forward to this. It was just announced this week that Craig Brewer will direct the project. So I'm excited.
It's going to be
She's
so
your queen to be. You can hire me if you need an extra.
I can't hit
Craig.
that falsetto.
Randy Watson.
It's going to be so great. Now let's welcome Dion and Rachel. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Hi,
How
nice
you
to
doing?
meet you.
Good to see you. So, Rachel, let's hear from you first.
Sure.
So, what is your number one movie that you're looking forward to for 2019?
There are a ton of great ones, but probably the one that I'm most excited about is Captain Marvel, which is coming in just a few months.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That one I think is just going to be so good. The trailer is amazing. Brie Larson, who stars in it, is always incredible in everything she does. And it's about time we get a female-led superhero movie out there.
I agree. I'm put that on my list. Dion, what about you?
I'm actually, full disclosure, Toy Story 4. I'm very excited about. I'm
it
a big
does look
fan
like
of
it's
those.
going to be a cute.
Yeah. So I'm a kid at heart. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. Toy Story 3 kind of had me in tears.
Yeah, near the end,
like
it was
as
like
the rest of the world.
It's like they went to hell at the end.
Yeah.
And it was like, they didn't know, so it was very exciting.
What about you, Allie? What are you looking forward to seeing?
So I'm a horror movie buff,
Okay.
so I am very excited about the horror movies coming. It Chapter 2 is coming in a couple of months, but Glass, which is not necessarily horror, but has that supernatural comic element. So excited for that one as well, and that's right around the corner.
Yeah.
I'm also looking. So I mentioned the reboot of Coming to America. I don't know when it's going to actually be released. It could be like 2020.
That's taken a while too.
Yeah.
For years they were, and then it was
Yeah.
if there was problems with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio, or what was happening. Then finally, that's like you said, it's maybe 1988. I think it came out, so it's
been a
long
while.
overdue.
Yeah.
But what I'm looking forward to rather to view this year is What Men Want, starring Taraji P. Henson.
Yeah.
She taps into she can hear like what men are thinking, which I think is so cool because we always, you can't read minds, right?
Yeah.
But in this movie, she'll be able to read and hear the minds of men, so that
Yeah.
should be fun.
It seems like a little like a more crass, kind of like sassier, funnier version of
definitely.
What Women Want with
the
Mel
Mel
Gibson,
Gibson,
which was a super cute movie as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a really good one.
Yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, what else do we have? Any
Are you
other
a horror
movies?
movie person?
50%. I like girly movies and like comedies. I think
Yeah.
I'm rom-com and
Yeah.
comedies.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, there's some, aside from the Captain Marvel, we have some other great superhero movies coming. Like this year is going to be all about some butt kicking, right?
It is. It really is.
right.
Yeah.
There's Avengers coming out, which is obviously the biggest one of the year. I mean, that's everything comes to the end there. So there's a lot that's going to happen. And there's also the new Spider-Man movie. The
Yeah.
trailer just dropped last week, and that looks so good.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look forward to if
Yeah.
you're a superhero fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Disney seems to also have a lot coming out now, even though I just mentioned Toy Story 4, but there's Dumbo's coming out. I think there's the new Lion King. I think the new Aladdin, all these live
There
action
are a
movies
lot
are
of
coming out.
reboots.
Yeah, they're all, so
Yeah.
it seems like this is the reboot, sequel,
Yeah.
remake is here
Yeah.
to stay for us,
Yeah.
And Aladdin and The Lion King, also have really diverse casts, which we saw
Yeah.
with the success of Black Panther
Yeah.
last year. So, that's really exciting. We're going to see that more diversity. What do you guys think
Right.
about that?
Well, it's interesting because Lion King, people are overjoyed about it, but then a couple weeks ago when they first released some images for Aladdin, people were almost like laughing at it, like, "Oh, come on, you really doing
I
this?"
think Will Smith
Yeah.
is in Aladdin.
Yeah, he's playing
and
the genie.
Beyonce, my favorite, is the voice of Nala in
Oh,
Lion
wow.
King.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't know that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's like
Lion
breaking
King
news.
cast is Beyonce and Donald Glover.
Some big
Yeah,
names.
incredible people.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
And
I
they
think-
brought back James Earl Jones to
Oh,
play
wonderful.
Mustafa,
Okay.
and his wife, who the actress's name escapes me, but Coming to America, his wife in Coming to America
Oh,
did the
okay.
voice of
Yes, yes, yes.
his-
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, in The Lion King.
Yeah, and there's what I appreciate, as you mentioned, there's the diversity and the blockbuster hits rather from 2018. Black Panther
Yeah.
was one. Do we think we'll see more diversity this year? I mean, as we did last year.
I think
think-
so.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry.
I think it's definitely happening. I think slower than any of us would like. I think it's
Yeah.
still it's not going to be, from a huge shift from one year to the next, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do think there's slow progress being made. I
Yeah.
mean, for instance, like you look at last year, Black Panther, of course, but also, the success of Get Out, and now we have Jordan Peele's, well, that was 2 years ago, but then Jordan Peele's new movie, Us, is coming out
yes.
next month. For horror fans.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the trailer looks scary. So
The
you're
trailer
talking about
is
horror. You're
terrifying.
excited about that, I'm
I
sure.
am, yeah. And the best was I tweeted them, like the movie's Twitter account, and I just said, "Oh, I'm so excited for this." They tweeted me back a personalized response, and they were
Wow.
like, it was the coolest thing.
That is very cool.
I mean, it was just like the marketing for this is so good, and Jordan Peele just really. The thing I like about his horror movies is they're very unexpected. Nobody
Like Twilight
saw-
Zone episodes.
Yeah,
There's
no
always
one
a
saw-
twist at the end, like
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan or
Yeah,
something. like that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's
Which
really,
Glass,
really
I guess,
exciting.
too.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. That's what I can't wait
Yeah.
for.
Has
So-
plenty, I'll tell you, I've seen it. It has plenty of twists and turns. So get
Oh,
excited.
what else
Get
can
the
you
inside
tell
scoop
us?
about it, yeah.
No, she's probably like sworn to secrecy.
It comes out tomorrow or tonight,
Oh,
rather.
I see.
so-
Yeah.
Who's it out? Oh,
I
okay.
just
Yeah.
I should get
January
my
18th
tickets.
is today.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
let's talk more about Netflix. We saw some feuds between movie theaters and streaming services last year. I mean, where do you think this conflict is heading? Who's really winning now? Do we think it's the streaming services or movies headed to theater?
It's hard. I mean, personally, I don't like to go to the movies that much anymore just because it's so much money. And once you get in there, you have
Yeah.
to deal with the people
It's like
there.
$50
and people
just for
like
two
to talk.
people.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the food is, people don't realize that like a lot of the theater chains make their money off the food. So like that's why like it's $6 for a water. So
And $10 for a Snickers bar. Okay.
So you can see why, like, you'd rather just stay in your PJs and
Yeah,
have
the
a beer
comfort of
or
your
a glass of
home.
wine
Absolutely.
on your couch. So
Yeah.
it is, there's pros and cons to it, but at the same time, they are starting to charge a little more.
Yeah.
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 Netflix is hiking
Yeah,
up its
yeah.
subscription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I love about the movies is obviously the experience, the sound, being in the theater. That is really, really exciting.
You
but
can't beat that.
You can,
Yeah.
but I would say there's some local theaters in New Jersey, which is my homestay. Hey, Jersey.
Me too.
And they have deals where, like, on Sundays, all movies might be $6,
Yeah.
or that if you go after a certain hour, it might be a little
The
cheaper.
matinee is for,
Right.
yeah.
So I would love to see more movie theaters doing that, and I feel like they're going to have to do that as Netflix, because I mean, Bird Box did these huge numbers that I think even surprised Netflix.
Yeah.
How well it did. So-
Especially if it catches on as like a niche where you had the Bird Box challenge and some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are just putting blindfolds on and walking into things.
Yeah.
Just
That was
as,
fun.
yeah.
Did you do that at home?
I
try
didn't.
that?
I didn't. I find it very funny. It's just
Yeah.
it's like if you look at the older movies that have come out, like it's funny. You look at it if they did challenges like that. So
Yeah.
it was interesting. But it's certainly I think because of the cast you had in there,
Yeah.
that certainly
Sandra
propelled
Bullock
it to
was
number one.
dynamic,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
John
yeah.
Malkovich was phenomenal in it too.
so
you know.
good.
Yeah.
My favorites were Girl and Boy.
Yeah.
They were
Yeah.
adorable.
So cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you guys think is going to be the biggest movie of the year?
I think it has to be Avengers. I know I mentioned it earlier, but I just think in terms of pure reach and box office potential and everything, I think no matter where you stand, if you're a massive superhero fan or someone who just knows a little bit about the Marvel world,
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to be watching it because it's likely going to be the end for at least a few of the heroes that people have come to know over the last decade or so. So
It's taken at
be big.
least 30 or 40 years to get, you had the Superman with Christopher Reeve, then you had the Tim Burton Batman, and then finally, superheroes are here, and we've had them for the past 10 years. So I don't know, do you think this will be like the climax for the superhero movie where people are going to get kind of
for
tired?
Marvel superhero world,
Yeah.
I don't think in terms of the superhero genre overall, I
Yeah.
think that's staying around for a long time. Now, as you
Yeah.
said, it's been here for decades and
Yeah.
it'll continue to stay. But
Right.
in Marvel's current iteration of it, it'll be
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
But then they'll revamp it into something new.
Yeah, because you think about it, in 20 years we've had, 3 or 4 different Spider-Man, so it's like
Yeah.
they're not
2 or 3.
worried about just
Yeah.
rebooting it, and then
Yeah.
2 years later you're like, what? I thought, you get all, so.
Well, and
Yeah.
hopefully when they do eventually, after this Avengers, they've already mentioned that the next Marvel slate that they're bringing out is going to be more inclusive. It is going to be more representative because this was kind of the end of the heroes that we already had that we might have cast differently, now versus 10 years ago. So when these new movies do come out in the next couple of years, they're actually going to be very, in a great way, they're going to be much more inclusive than what we've seen in the past.
And you have them on
great.
streaming too. Like I'm a big Punisher fan, and that I think series is maybe starting today or next week. So you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a lot of those streaming shows as well that are like on CW and a lot of so you have the small screen
Yeah.
being represented these superhero movies as well as the big screen.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you can't turn
CW
away
does
from
a
them.
lot.
You know?
Yeah.
Anywhere you go, there's a superhero, something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing they still hang on too, because Aquaman did so big. I think that surprised everybody just how big Aquaman
Yeah.
was.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah, DC's had a little climb. You know, they were good out of the gate a couple years ago in the 80s and 90s, but then they were losing their footing, and then Marvel took over, and they were stumbling a little bit in the past couple years. But finally, I think they're finding some good ground now with these Justice League and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are there any actors who you would want to see in a particular role? Like, if you could cast a movie for 2019, like who would you want to see playing whom or
That's
what?
a great question.
Yeah, that is a good question.
Well, there is one that this is not, coming out of nowhere because it is happening, but I'm very excited personally to see Kate Blanchett in Where'd You Go, Bernadette.
Oh, yes.
That's based on one of my favorite books, and one of my favorite directors, Richard Linklater, is directing it, and she plays the main character, Bernadette, in that movie, and it's just not who I would have expected to take on the role, but it's Kate Blanchett, and she could do anything, so I'm very excited to see what that movie's going to be like.
Yeah. I'm a big Gary Oldman fan. I mean, I've always been, so anything he
Okay.
would do, that might be fun, something like that. So I don't know. It's such a, there's so much out there. It's almost like it cancels everything out. Like, there's so much product. I find myself now where I have to turn away stuff because there's so much out there for me. Like, and there's stuff I might like that I might not even know is even out there because there's just so much access. I have my DVR is just so clogged up with stuff. You say you're gonna watch it, then all of a sudden you have the whole series there, and then you end up, so it's. I don't know if that is, they're starting to compete with each other there just because there's so much product out there.
Yeah.
Well, that leaves us with a lot to choose from.
I know.
Right?
My list is growing
I
of
know.
movies to watch. We appreciate you
Absolutely.
joining
Thank you so
with
much.
us.
Thank you for
Yes,
having
thank you
us.
for being
Thank
here,
you.
Rachel and Dion.